Welcome to Love Yourself, the podcast where we break down the reasons why you aren't losing weight and help you discover confidence, self-worth, and resilience all along the way. Weight loss isn't a knowledge problem, it's a thinking problem, and I'm here to show you how to lose weight with your brain, not another diet plan. So as you listen, notice what resonates with you. And if something clicks or you want to go deeper, I would love for you to book a call with me right after the episode. Does this sound familiar to you? You're doing really well. You're doing really well with your eating. You're doing well with going to bed on time. You're feeling better in your body than you have in so long. And then the next thing you know, you're eating ice cream at 9:00 at night and you're watching Netflix until 2 a.m. And you think, what has happened here? Well, if this is you, chances are you're just falling into the old self-sabotage trap. And I'm so glad you're here because we're going to work through where did that self-sabotage come from and why is it still afflicting you today? My name is Dara Tomasson, and this is Love Yourself In podcast, episode 255, 3 reasons you are self-sabotaging. Okay, so let's go into self-sabotaging and what that came from. And in fact, I love where the word self-sabotage came from. It came from saboteur, which is a French word that means walk noisily. And it means to bungle, botch, or wreck. It was originally used to refer to labor disputes in which the workers wore wooden shoes called sabots. They interrupted the production of regular work. The saboteur would conceal their identity because of the consequences of their actions and to avoid invoking legal and organizational requirements for addressing sabotage. Similar words are wrecking, deliberate damage, vandalism, destructive, obstruction, disruption, crippling, impairment, incapacitation, spoiling, ruining, undermining, filibustering, damaging, and subversion. Okay? So I want you to think about those experiences in your life where you sabotage. Like maybe you're in a really healthy relationship and you're feeling so good about yourself, and then you pick a fight. Or you're having a great vacation and things are going really well, and then you start arguing about the dumbest thing. How often do you find yourself feeling successful and things are going really well, and the next thing you know, you're eating something or you're going to bed too late, or you're maybe saying something that you're really not happy that you said? These are all ways of self-sabotaging. So I am teaching a 3-day class on why you're not broken, but how you can actually start catching yourself self-sabotaging quicker and quicker so you don't have to dig yourself out of as many holes. So we have to reprogram all those subconscious patterns. So if you would like to join me for this incredible class, please do. You will have more clarity, more understanding after coming to this class than, dare I say, many therapy sessions. So can't wait to see you there. So I'm going to go into why this happens, and we're going to look at the top 3 reasons that you can sabotage. Now, before we do that, there's a little quiz. I'm going to link it below. And this is actually from Dr. Judy Ho, her book called Self-Sabotage. And I'm going to read the questions here. So if you want to walk or if you're quilting or you're doing something, you can just be thinking about it. So are these true or false for you? The way you feel about yourself on a given day depends largely on situational factors. For example, what others say to you, how others respond to you, or what your weight is on the scale. Your self-worth is primarily dictated by your accomplishments or the services that you are providing to others. So how productive were you that day? And if you weren't as productive, then you can't say your day was good enough. Quick, list 5 things you love about yourself. Mark yes if this is a tough exercise for you and or if you have trouble doing this in less than 30 seconds. There are times in your adult life when you question your identity, who you are, and what you stand for. Number 5, when you hear the awesome things that other people achieve, you secretly wonder if you have what it takes to do the same. Next one. When you were a child, you were told or shown that the world is a scary place and that it is dangerous to take risks. The next one. When you were a child, an important adult in your life, parents or teachers, seemed to be overly nervous or anxious about different things, job, home life, natural disasters. When you were a child, more often than not, an important adult in your life seemed to have struggles meeting their own goals and or appeared discouraged about their own progress. Next. When you were a child, an important adult in your life was overcritical of you and or held you to extremely high standards. Next. Looking back on your life, you can honestly say that you did not have at least one role model for the major accomplishments of your life. You had to find your own way. You highly prefer structure and familiarity and become irate at people or situations that throw you off your usual routine. The next question. When recounting periods of significant change in your life, moving, getting married, starting a new job, attending a new school, you remember more of the nervousness and discomfort rather than the excitement. You feel very nervous when you don't know what to expect in a situation. Next, once you decide on an important goal for yourself, one of the primary concerns you have is, what if I fail? You have had at least one experience in taking a chance on something new that blew up in your face and led you to feel much more nervous about trying a new thing later. Someone in your life has called you a control freak at some point. You often try to have the last word or to win an argument. Next, you find that you are often a harsh critic of not only yourself, but of others. Next, you have a tendency to correct others when they are wrong, even if it's about somewhat inconsequential things. Be honest, you have a very tough time admitting you are wrong. Okay, so if you go and you can download this quiz from Dr. Judy Ho, but look up your tally your marks. If you're mostly the first four or the first ones, that is you have a low or shaky self-concept. And then, or the next one is you could have internalized traditions of like from your parents, fear of change of an unknown, or the last one is excessive need for control. And with these challenges, what you're being able to look at is, how do you face difficulties and how do you face those challenges and how do you navigate that? Now, I have an entire masterclass, 4 days, because this is a lot to work through. So let's go back to why were these questions, how can these questions help us? And as we look at each one of the sections, low self-concept, internalized beliefs, fear of change of the unknown, or excessive need for control. Those were all strategies that we used as a kid to try to adapt and to stay connected to those adults. Because as kids, we couldn't take care of ourselves. We couldn't go and buy ourselves groceries. We couldn't go and get ourselves clothes. We couldn't do any of those things. And so what we were doing is we were always scanning for danger. We're always scanning for those cues from those responsible adults. And then we were able to adapt according to them. So if you heard your mom say things like, oh, fat people, they're so lazy, then you wrote down as a little kid, you cannot be fat. If you are fat, you are not acceptable. Okay. If we didn't have healthy coping strategies or didn't have healthy connections to our caregivers, then we created these really unhealthy coping strategies. And there's 3 different ways that we do this. And this is what I want to talk about today. There is the perfectionism. So be perfect and you can't be criticized or rejected. There's the people pleasing, which is keep everyone happy and you'll belong. Or there's procrastination. You never try, so you can never fully fail. Now, these were healthy strategies as a child, right? They kept you safe. They helped you belong. And they just have, but the problem is they have an expiry date on them, right? And yours has passed. What's happening is you're having these old patterns. So how many of you can't do anything unless it's perfect, right? Or how many of you work really hard to perfect something so that you can't be rejected? How many of you exhaust yourself trying to do things for other people and just get, and you forget yourself. And so you're always, it feels like you're always running on empty. You always put yourself last. So this is why this self-sabotage is a big deal, because we need to understand, why am I constantly feeling frustrated and tired and not really getting the results that I want? And so the more that we can understand, oh, as a kid, I had these unhealthy coping strategies and I've internalized them. And because I did that, I am now operating. I'm still being this little kid. I'm still operating out of fear. I'm still operating out of all these unhealthy patterns. Now, when you think about your life, in next episode, I'm going to dive deeper into weight loss, but I want you to think about your typical day. In your typical day, how often are you falling into perfectionism, which looks like, if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it. Or how much of your day turns into procrastinating. So it's like, I don't have all the right pieces. I can't do everything perfectly, so I'm not going to do it. So I call that failing ahead of time. Or how much of your day are you saying yes to all these other things, which ultimately always are saying no to yourself? So that's what we call the back burner syndrome, where now you just keep getting put back into, oh, I'm not as important. And so then you feel frustrated, discouraged. You're not really living your life. You're living your life for other people. And then you find yourself feeling resentful and frustrated, and your confidence is really shaken. So this is what I want to say. So go and do that quiz. That'll be really helpful. But I want to give you some support. Okay. Now, this is just short. Obviously, this is just a podcast. You're on a walk. You're doing dishes. I don't know what you're doing, but I want to give you some direction. All right. So the first thing I want you to do is recognize that pattern. And how are you going to recognize that pattern? You're not going to feel great. So when you're doing, like, let's say you're doing the dishes, or when you're just doing any sort of errand, I want you just to put your hand on your heart, or just even maybe put your fingers on your earring or something, some sort of like checking in, and say, how am I doing right now? So if you can feel your heart elevating, if you can feel yourself feeling like, oh, things aren't great, I want you just to take that pause, whether it's I prefer doing the hand on the heart, taking a deep breath, and then just going into my body, connecting in my body and saying, what's going on? And when you take that time, what starts to happen is now you reassure your lower brain, that, the bodyguard brain that's always looking for danger, 5 times more likely. And you're now going to go in your higher brain, and this is your CEO brain. This is your ability to think about your thinking. And you say, what is going on right now? And you can say things like, oh, I'm so used, and you can use the filter of the triple P. So perfectionism, am I needing to have everything perfect so that I can feel good about myself? Or am I saying yes to everyone else because I don't want to feel rejected? Or am I failing ahead of time by procrastinating? So if I don't have it all perfect and I worry about that, right? So now those 3 filters can now give you an idea of, oh, I can see why this is happening. I'm just back into my, needing those adults' approval, and I'm sabotaging my own desires because of my old wiring of needing to be accepted by the tribe. But now I'm an adult, that I'm not a kid anymore. I can take care of my own responsibilities, and I can move forward. I can solve this problem. So when you have that opportunity to take that step back, right, the bird's eye view, now you can be in your brain. You can now connect with your nervous system and say, oh, yeah, I can see that feels scary, but we can move past that. We can be calm. I know that's an old pattern. I know that's an old story. I know that kept me safe when I was a kid, but I don't need to keep acting like that anymore. That doesn't serve me. I like this idea of it has an expiration date. So, all right. I love that we're spending this time together. I love that you're either watching me on YouTube or you're listening. I love to hear your feedback. What are your questions? What are the things that are stressing you out? What are the things that you keep trying to solve and you can't quite figure it out yet? So if you find yourself sabotaging, things are going really well. Oh, and I'll just add one last part before we go, because next week we're going to build on the self-sabotaging for preventing weight loss. But I just want to teach about our human body. So this is, I'm actually, for those of you who know, I'm doing my master's in counseling. And so it's funny, my assignment this week is about our physical bodies and how that influences our progress. So our genes and we're learning about epigenetics. It's very interesting. But, self-sabotage. Yeah. Okay. So we all have what's called an inner thermostat, okay, of where we feel comfortable. So if we were always, like as kids, that thermostat got set. So if we were always, we didn't have really healthy attachments to our parents, we are constantly like worrying about what were the rules that my parents said. Oh, I need to be perfect. I need to have good grades. So now you have this very set point of I can only feel good about myself if I got grades. And maybe that's same with weight loss. So it's like, if I don't weigh 155 pounds, then I'm not acceptable. And so what happens is your inner thermostat says, if I don't reach these certain parameters, if I don't if I don't tick all the boxes off by a certain time, I'm not good enough, right? So we've internalized that. And so now life is harder because now we have to achieve these unrealistic goals in order for us to feel good. Okay. And so in this, and in psychology and with the life coaching that I do, is what we look at is how do we increase our own internal thermometer of feeling good? Because when you think about our temperature in our house, so if it gets a little bit too hot, the air conditioning kicks in and it cools things down. If it gets a little bit too cold, then the heater kicks in. And so now we can always stay at homeostasis, right? And so as kids, we programmed ourselves to have that feeling. And so our central nervous system, if it feels too happy, it will do what? Exactly. It will pick a fight, or it will overeat a bunch of stuff because it's like, ooh, we're getting too happy. We can't do that. Or if things are too sad, then we go for the food so that we can try to increase that. So do you see how that works? So we're going to be really focusing on that in the next episode. Also, we're going to talk about the failure and sabotage coming up. And so I'm really, really happy that we're doing this together. It's kind of like a 3-part series. But if you want to go further into this, there's an incredible workbook that I made. The 4-day masterclass is so good on self-sabotage. We had such great feedback from the last time I taught it. And so if you are interested in attending that at the end of the month, please come. I love interacting with all of you. It's just such an amazing gift that you give to yourself when you finally understand what's going on. And by the way, your worth is 100%. So that's the other part that is missing. You think you have to earn your worth. You think you have to prove yourself. Truth is you don't. You're already 100% worthy. So when you can operate out of that way, imagine the difference it makes. All right. I can't wait to see you in the next week. And again, like always, I love hearing your feedback. Please share it with me. You can connect with me over on Instagram. And If you leave a review, that really helps other people to find this incredible podcast. It's going to help women save so much time, effort, and create so much more joy. Bye. As you're leaving this episode, I want you to take a moment and notice what stood out for you. What did you learn about yourself? What felt true? And where are you ready to start thinking differently? Remember, this work isn't about doing more. It's about understanding how your brain is working right now and learning how to shift it in a way that's always going to support you. And you don't have to do that alone. If you're ready to stop second-guessing yourself, stop feeling stuck, and start creating real momentum in your life, I would love to help you. You can book a call with me and we'll look at what's really going on for you and what your next step can be. I'll talk to you. I can't wait to talk to you.